Therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there, and we're unpacking shit.
This woman said, we're giving everything that we have in there, meaning in session, that she as a therapist, as well as other therapists, are giving everything that they have in the session. Then she goes on to say, we're unpacking SHIT. That's very professional.
And we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there, well, if you're an effective therapist, saying, tell me more. You should be unpacking. Anyways, when I realized that, I thought, well, one, I mean, I'll just be out of pocket. Two, when I tell my clients the truth, is that in order to bill insurance, I have to diagnose you.
You can find the rest of that interview on the Joe Budden podcast, even though Cheyenne Bryant said that it was a session. You can clearly go over there, watch the whole entire thing, and see that it's an interview. It's even set up as an interview. It was not a clinical session, or it was not a session at all. She states that she decided to go the out-of-pocket route instead of the insurance because if a client comes to her and she has to get 6 weeks additional approval from the insurance company, she would have to state that they're making improvements. And she did not want that record to stay with that client forever when I'm assuming maybe they're not making improvements, because she would have to diagnose them as a client. Even though it's framed like a moral decision, it does seem to be more of a capitalistic decision. Because if a client comes to you under the guise that you are a therapist and you are hearing something that may be way outside of the scope of your expertise, do you recommend them to someone else? Do you give them a reference to a real licensed therapist, to a psychiatrist, to a psychologist, to a licensed counselor? I mean, who do you refer them to if it appears as though that person may actually need a diagnosis? And if in the event no improvement is being made, do they just keep paying you out of pocket, consistently coming to you until you see improvement? And how do you gauge improvement as a therapist for a client when you cannot make a diagnosis if in the event they really do need one? That's the reason they have licensing boards. So there are regulations in place. They know your scope of practice. They make sure that you are adhering to the binding ethical rules, and you don't have to worry about doing all of that yourself as a licensed therapist. To be able to promote yourself as a therapist and not have to adhere to anyone, no board, no one above you as a therapist, that is very dangerous for your quote unquote clients. Because how can we build trust or professional rapport if I don't know what you're saying to me is true? If it's out of pocket and you're a therapist, so to speak, how do I know if what you're telling me is true? How do I know I may not need additional help and you're just not telling me or withholding it from me because you just want to keep getting my money? How would a person know?
I've earned the title. I have multiple degrees, and I'm not going to prove anything to anybody. My obedience is to God, not to people. And so as long as I'm in his will and I'm serving and I'm doing his, his word, my sheep will know my voice.
What?
Even the sheep in wolf clothing. That is not.
Your obedience is to God, not to people, but you work with people. And you say your obedience is to serve, but you are supposed to be serving the people. If you are working for God and the things that you're doing is to be obedient to him, to serve him by way of people, why aren't you showing the people the degrees that they think you need in order to serve them? If you are promoting and saying you are a therapist, not a coach, you say you are a therapist, you say you are a doctor, and the people who come to you, they need a professional expertise from a doctor or from a therapist, and you're supposed to be serving them, how can you truly be obedient to God and make it seem like God is giving you the position to be there if you refuse to show proof that you're qualified to be there for the people you're supposed to be serving? And then you say that his sheep will know his voice, and wolves in sheep clothing will also know the voice of God, or whatever you're talking about. This is just narcissistic word salad. That's all it is. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And how can your God, whoever that may be, how can your God bless you beyond where you are if all you need to do is just show proof that you're qualified to be a therapist or their doctor? Why not just show the proof? If you have the degree, it should be on display in your office so that it would be no questions asked. Why not just show it?
Not my battle.
But with the questions that are out there, why not provide the proof of your degree? Why not?
Well, a couple of things, right? I have multiple degrees, and my thing is that my proof isn't something that I have to prove to individuals. My proof is already within my credentials, my degrees, and also more than just my titles, it's in how effective I've been. All of my sessions have been live for the most part. My sessions with Nick Cannon, Cam Newton, Shannon Sharp, B. Simone, they have all been for the world to see.
So those were not interviews, they were sessions. So every time we see you live on any podcast or any show, answering any questions or just having a dialogue with the host, it is a session. And you don't owe anybody any proof because we all have seen your sessions live to know what happens in session. But my thing is that the way that you framed it with the Joe Budden podcast, session, was that you therapists give your all in session. So you mean to tell me you've never had any clients in your own private practice? You've had no private clients that we're not aware of. The only clients you've had is the ones that we saw that we thought were interviews but were actually live sessions. You have no other clients other than what we saw on live on the internet. I'm just asking. And did those people sign any documentation? Is there anything on record that shows that it was an agreement between client to therapist? Is there anything on record that is a confidentiality agreement or a consensual exchange stating in the exchange that this is from coach to client, therapist to client, doctor to client? Is there anything on record as it relates to that person that they are not an interviewer but a client of yours, and that exchange is considered a session? Was it an out-of-pocket expense that is a session? Or was it an out-of-pocket expense that was a collaboration? Which was it?
So no one knew who Dr. Bryant was prior to seeing all of my sessions that were live. And they deemed it, as well as I did before they did it, they can't validate me, I validated myself.
Hold on, slow down. Okay, so they cannot validate it. You're validating it yourself. So you're framing it as a session. Could they say that it is a session, or could you provide proof, as I stated in documentation, to show that it is a session? Now, you say that it was reflective and effective. That could have been a dialogue. That could have been a conversation, could have been an interview, anything like that. But you say it is a session. So as effective as you say it was, and they can't validate it, you're only validating it. How do we determine if it was indeed a session or not? If they can't validate it, it was that, but you can. At the very least, you can definitely say that it was an effective exchange. That's it. But that doesn't make the exchange a session.
They deemed it as my work being effective. I am effective at what I do. I'm educated and I'm successful in my lane, and I'll land on this. I created my own lane. And so a lot of times, Marissa, when people say that you created something that maybe they couldn't, admiration turns into envy. And you got to be okay. And you
meme talk. This is just straight up meme talk. Admiration turns to envy. That stuff you see in memes. This woman is just sitting here playing in people's faces because she just doesn't want to provide the proof to show who she claims to be. If you have it, just show it.
got to be okay with that in that
as an
space.
attack, but I think, and I've gotten this question from many viewers, and I owe it to them, in service to
Absolutely.
them. Why not drop doctor from your name if you cannot bring forth that doctoral degree?
So I've already covered this, right? And we're here obviously to talk about my new book. So I've earned the title. I have multiple degrees, and I'm not going to prove anything to anybody. And we're going to leave it just as that. Yeah.
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
Baby, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
And that's where, and you're...
Joggers.
Excuse me?
Joggers. It's more lifestyle. Spring, summer. September, spring, spring, summer.
The conversation about your doctorate because people can't find your dissertation online. How are you responding to that?
I Google. It says this school has been shut down. I said, oh. Well, they got to have records. I mean, they were accredited when I attended the school. They were accredited when I finished the program. I go and look, there is a third party that has the records. Why I contact the third party, that third party only holds records for 2 years. And I'm going to land on this. Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11, I said. Oh, we got black folk in here, but we ain't got black folk in here. Because I thought y'all was going to go to church with me. Okay, Jeremiah 29:11, I said. I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to prosper you and give you a good life, not to harm you. So just knowing the plans that God had for us before he formed us in the belly should be enough for us to understand that what God has for you, you can't miss.
Meme talk. Some more meme talk. Feel good memes. What an insult to the intelligence of the people that you claim to serve. Talking about black folk. Don't we got black folks in here? Come on now, black folk. Let's take it to church. It's such an insult. Consistently playing in the faces of people that you're supposed to be serving. How interesting. Using a biblical reference only when it's convenient and when you're trying to tickle the fancy of other people. Feel good biblical references, but don't really live it, not trying to adhere to it, don't really care nothing about it outside of using it as some level of familiarity and commonality between you and the people that you're trying to grift.
Stuff, taking a bath together, no sex, because you both have what the Bible says marriage requires, discipline.
Where is it in the Bible that says in order to prove that you're disciplined, that you, a man and a woman who's not married, should be naked in the shower together? Can anybody show me where it says that you're supposed to test out your discipline that way? Because according to my ears and according to my comprehension, it sounds more like temptation than discipline. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too much of a babe.
To take a bath together.
Hey.
And have a conversation. A little triggered over there? A little triggered?
No, I just got to couch this. I got to couch this. Don't do it. She's talking to married people. It's different, a heightened level. Yes.
I'm also talking to unmarried people.
Personal feelings to the side about Jamal Bryant. In this moment, he did take the responsibility to redirect this woman back to Bible. He did say that this information or this advice should be reserved for married couples only. She had the arrogance and the audacity to say, no, this is also for single people as well. I mean, this woman is ballsy. You got to give it to her. She is ballsy, rebellious, prideful, and will lead you straight to hell.
What I'm saying is at 42, when I get pregnant.
Which is this year.
Right? Manifest with me, Paul. Manifest with me, Paul. I love you. When I get pregnant, at 42, I can commit. That's that obedience to my promised land. At 20, in my 20s and 30s, guess what? I'd have threw the whole motherfucking towel in and said, you know what? Me and them kids going to be good because I do well. I'm a doctor. I got to support a family and friends. Nigga, we can co-parent.
Cut the show. I'm done. Take me off. Take me off.
The intention of this video is not to condemn this woman and just put her down to no end. All of us as human beings have the potential to be a work in progress. People are not calling out Cheyenne Bryant because they're jealous of her and she's a pretty woman and she's so accomplished. It's just the lies. It is the audacity. It's the misrepresentation of other people's profession. You are supposed to be in a field that are helping vulnerable people. You're supposed to be serving communities of people who are looking for safe havens to not only unpack and release, but may be in need of more professional help so that they can be functional members of society beyond their trauma or their experiences or maybe their neurological disorders. You're robbing them of that opportunity. Because if you would have just promoted yourself as a coach, as much as you can give is probably based on your life experiences and you just give some guidance and some overall advice. And even with that, you're still supposed to use ethics and tell the person that I'm not providing any diagnosis to you, that this is just life guidance or this is just life advice based on my experiences. You still are supposed to disclose to the person on record that this is not a diagnosis. If in the event you're with a client and you realize this person may need additional professional help that is above my scope of expertise, you're supposed to either specifically refer them to someone or let them know this is as far as I can take it. It can't just be about the money. It cannot just be about you trying to get accolades and you're trying to get to a certain lifestyle. It can't just be about that. You know how many people that I've dealt with and I had to say, well, this is as far as I can take it. And they may have wanted more, but I could not give them ethically more than what I could give them. And it could not just be about the money for me, because these people are vulnerable, or they may be in need of more than my capacity will allow me to provide. That is what licensed therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and counselors are for. There is enough in the universe for us to be able to operate in our lane respectfully without having to pretend to be something that we're not, especially when dealing with vulnerable people who trust you enough to come to you in confidence and in confidentiality to be a safe place for them to unpack or to receive professional guidance or life guidance. You owe it to these people to just tell them the truth. And the opportunity to have a discussion about this has been lost. You lost the opportunity to connect to the people because you doubled down on your arrogance, your pride, your ego, and your lies. A lot of times we talk about how petty human beings can be. One thing I do know, human beings can also be forgiving, especially if you're authentic, especially if you own your stuff. People can be very forgiving if you own your stuff. We are not perfect, but to sit up here and double down on lies and play in people's face, it's not right.